Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dave Morton, the AeroDef event manager. Don't forget that we're taking questions at the end of each panel. You can submit your questions at slido.com and enter code #AD19. Our next panel moderator has more than 20 years of economic development experience working in Southern California. She's currently consulting at the USC Center for Economic Development, where she is the project manager for the Advanced Manufacturing Partnership for Southern California, AMP SoCal. Help me welcome Libby Williams.
Thank you. Yay. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for coming to our panel. For those of you who were here late yesterday afternoon, you heard me give a little preview of it. We had a panel yesterday afternoon on the OEM customer side with the Small Business Administration, JPL, and also the U.S. General Services Administration, talking about support services. Today, we're talking about how you as suppliers can get contracts with our 3 OEMs who are present on this panel. First, I want to introduce myself and why I'm here. My name is Libby Williams, and I am with the USC Center for Economic Development, and we host the Advanced Manufacturing Partnership for Southern California, as we like to call AMP SoCal. AMP SoCal is one of 24 different manufacturing communities across the country. We have been designated this by the Department of Commerce to focus specifically on aerospace and defense suppliers. So we focus in the entire 10-county area of Southern California. Our partners are with all of the educational institutions, the engineering departments of all of them, the workforce training providers, all of the cities, county agencies, and all of the different OEMs as well are part of us so that we can help support the development and further growth of aerospace and defense. I don't know if everybody knows this, especially those of you from out of town. As much as we talk about manufacturing going down in terms of the numbers, California, I can still say very happily, is still number 1 when it comes to aerospace and defense suppliers. It's not Washington, Texas, any place else. It's still California, and we want to keep it that way. So, this is a list of all of the different, or part of the partners who are included with us. Again, NASA, JPL, Northrop, Boeing. And again, we come together so that we can help support via different workshops, training, cybersecurity, access to capital, whatever it might be, we try to work on to help support, and all of our services are free of charge. So please check us out. We've got a booth over at A109. You can also go to ampsocal.org. But today, we're here to talk about how you can get work with these wonderful 3 suppliers. So we're not going to have them do the normal go through PowerPoint slides. We're just going to have circulating on the top. We're going to show you the different divisions that each of them have. And we're going to start off with a conversation so that you get a better chance to understand what they're looking for and the best way to go about becoming a supplier with them. So today I have Vicki Harper Hall, who is here from Northrop Grumman. We have Emma Stevens, who's here from Lockheed Martin. And we have Varric Williams, who's here representing Boeing. So I'm going to start off with the first question to Vicki.
Okay.
What's the process, and this is to all of you, but I'm going to have you start first.
Okay.
What is the process to become a supplier, and how long does it take before I should expect to receive my first contract?
Well, that is subject to availability and requirements. So first of all, you need to register with Northrop Grumman. Sometimes you as a supplier may have some capabilities that we're looking for, or you know that that's cutting edge technology that you can offer to Northrop Grumman. We want to get you in front of the technical team, the IPT leads, or our strategic sourcing team members so that we can get you directly to the buyers. The engineers are the ones that are really helping to shape and make decisions around the corporation. So we really want you to come with your A game. We don't want you coming asking us what to do. We want you to be prepared and understand what it is that Northrop Grumman offers. So for the 4 sectors that we have, we do everything from ground to outer space and sea and airborne. So the things that we do for the government customers, and we, Northrop Grumman, is about 99% government. So we're not like my counterparts have commercial. Both have commercial. We don't have as much commercial. We're mostly DoD, NASA, or other agencies' customers. So for us, when you talk about timing is everything. Sometimes it can happen within a few months. Sometimes, if you have everything that we're looking for, the capabilities, the ISO 9100, AS9100, ISO certification, cybersecurity, which we've teamed with SC and won a government contract last September to provide cybersecurity training. But that's for any of our team members. Any small business can take that training, and it is free to you, because everybody has to be up to speed on cybersecurity, or we cannot really do business with you. And that is not a Northrop, Boeing, or Lockheed requirement. That is a government requirement, and everybody must get on board. So we'll have documentation available for you. You can take those classes anywhere in the country. They'll be available through September, and we have flyers available. So hopefully that answers some of that question.
Emma.
Yeah, absolutely. And everything that Vicki said, as it relates to Northrop Grumman, it applies to Lockheed as well. You have to register on our website. As there are needs within our procurement operation, then we will reach out to our suppliers. But that registration is so important that you register, include all of your NAICS code, what you operate under. That is so important. That's kind of a new twist now with the SBA requirement that suppliers register for their NAICS code. So when solicitations go out, we are including the NAICS code. So it's so important that you know your NAICS code and include that NAICS code. As Vicki also talked about, know what Lockheed does, know what Northrop, what Boeing does. Do your homework. There's a wealth of information out on each one of our websites, how to do business with each one of our companies. Take advantage of all that information that's available to you and learn about our companies, and then come to us with a solution. Right. Let us know what it is you can do to help Northrop, Lockheed, or Boeing. Lockheed had a real good success story from the JPL we were at last month. Right. We've got 2 new suppliers that we're doing business with because they came to us with a solution and opportunities to help us in our supply chain. And also there was a supplier we met in October, a machining company. We're now doing business with that company. So it can take, as Vicki said, 1 or 2 months, 1 or 2 days, or 3 years, all based on the need and the requirement that we have at the time, and that you are prepared and ready to come to us to partner and do business with us.
Barak, how do you become a supplier to Boeing?
Well, these 2 young ladies already said everything, but however, one thing that we also at Boeing are looking for is making sure that the supplier is an ExoStar, because all 3 of us are using ExoStar as a portal to make sure that you can get everything, you can get all the supplier information and all the requirements information in that portal. One of the other things that we were looking at is the fact that from a Boeing standpoint, it takes about, and I was talking with a couple of other folks, 6 weeks to 18 months. And that depends on whether or not it's going to be a sole source or competitive, or whether or not it's going to be a current program or a new program that Boeing is working, that's looking to do. So it can, like they said, it could be 16 weeks, 6 months, or even 3 years, depending on what you guys are trying to go for and what program we're trying to put you on. And then lastly, as they allude to, know what you want to do. Come up to us saying, hey, I know you have this program, this is where we fit, and this is how we fit. That takes half the groundwork from us out of the way so we can start engaging with you guys quickly.
That's good. So what I'm surmising here is that expect that this is a marathon, not a sprint. So
Right.
when you do get involved and when you actually do get your application in, it may not be right away, but expect it might be a marathon. Maybe it'll speed up over time.
Right.
One of the things that you said, Varek, in terms of, and all of you actually said in terms of making sure that you do your homework, I want to ask next, what are the top do's and don'ts that you have for suppliers? And I know I've heard someone else speak, actually one of your colleagues, Barak said before, don't come to us and ask, what do you got for me? You know, I'm looking for work, I'm looking for a contract, what do you got for me? That's one of the biggest don'ts that she had, is don't come to me asking that. You need to come to me saying, I've done my homework, these are my capabilities, this is what we do, what we offer in our services. We see this as a possibility where we could fit in with you. Are there other do's and don'ts that you would like to share with suppliers that are critical for them to know before they approach you and come and work with you?
Couple of them that really are not really pet peeves, but I can look at you kind of side-eyed. What happens is when you send out an email to us, don't send it out to just everybody because everybody has the same email and the same database. So if you think you're sending it to me and sending it to somebody in Philadelphia, we're going to see the same thing. So don't think that you're sending something to me and sending something totally to my Philly SBLO differently. Make sure that if you're going to stick with one SBLO, stick with that one person. And then another thing that's a pet peeve is going up the food chain. When I see a vice president coming back down to me saying that, hey, this supplier is contacting me, help them out, and I've already talked to you, that makes me look bad, but yet that makes the supplier looks kind of desperate, even though I've already talked to that supplier. So that's one of the pet peeves for me.
And I want to clarify, SBLO stands for
Small Business Liaison Officer.
Okay, great.
I think that's what all of us do,
Right.
right?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Emma, your do's and don'ts.
The do's, again, do your homework. Definitely do your homework. Know what it is and how you can fit within our supply chain. And also a don't, we really don't like is you come and say, I'm a woman-owned, I'm a hub zone, I'm a SDB, and you got to do business with us. Well, we've got a very healthy and wealthy supply chain that are woman-owned, SDB, hub zone, veteran-owned already. We want to know what it is that you do. Sell us your expertise. Show us where you can help on F-35 program and our advanced development. There's a lot of information, again, out on the website, in the news, what Lockheed Martin is looking for on the F-35 program, the Small Business Innovative Research Program. Go out and read those solicitations that are out there and see where you can help us on this F-35 program. I love the fact that you're a woman-owned, SDB, hub zone, veteran, service disabled veteran, but that's not the primary need. We need a partner to help us to work on this aircraft and some of the issues that we're having.
Thank you. Vicki.
And what I'm going to say is be willing and able to do what you say you can do. We can't do it all, and we're a prime contractor. So we rely on people that have expertise in certain areas. So if you say, and I'll tag on to Emma's also, if you say I can do everything, we're probably going to say you probably cannot, because we cannot do everything, and we're a prime contractor. Another thing on Emma's is to tag on to both hers and Barak is when you send us your capability statement, we want you to tell us what size you are, but I normally tell the small businesses, put that at the end.
Right.
We want to know that you can do what you say you can do. You're good, you're expert, your niche commodity or capabilities that we're looking for. We want to get you in front of the right people so we can get you on our programs so you can perform that statement of work for us and with us as a team partner. And then Barak tapped on it as well. We don't want you sending those emails. A lot of you know our vice presidents and CEOs. Yes, we know that. But the thing is, it comes right back down to us. So if you've started with us, we really want you to continue on, because when we get that note, we're going to go to our email, pull out your email that we've already sent to you, send it back to our vice president or CEO and tell them, we've been talking to them for months. They've registered. We have keynotes as to when we've spoken with them. So the thing is, we really want to build those relationships with you. And so it's all about relationships. So we really want to build those relationships. Sometimes it's going to be a fast relationship that we can build. Sometimes it's going to be over months or years. But we really want to make sure that you understand our commitment to small business is there for all of our companies. It's not something that they take lightly. It's on everything that we bid, every bid and proposal. Our government customer is passionate about making sure that we, as prime contractors, understanding the value worth of small businesses and what they bring to the United States economy, our war fighters, and our country. So,
thank you.
I had one more comment. And this happened to me about a couple of years ago. We had a supplier ready to go, teed them up, the buyer liked them, and they sent out a bid to them for one, maybe two, maybe three parts just to see if they can do the work, and they no-bid it on us. And that really kind of hurt, because, we did all that work, all that labor to get them ready, and then they said, well, 1 and 2Z, yeah, we can do it, but we prefer the production stuff. Well, my procurement agents, they've been taught, if it's a new supplier, get them out, start them slow with the onesie, twosies, and if they perform, then it's the production stuff that comes.
Right.
But if you no bid on me at the beginning, what makes you think you won't no bid me on some other stuff too? So that was another don't.
Another don't.
That's another don't.
Thank
Right,
you.
and to tag on that, even if you get a solicitation, respond, whether you can do it this time or not, but tell them that you, at this time, you don't have the capabilities, but you really appreciate the fact that you received an RFP, but please keep you on the list for the next time.
Yes.
Because the thing is, what you don't want to do is not respond, because we've worked hard to get you on the list.
Right.
So if you don't bid, then it looks as though, well, maybe you sent us somebody that's not going to be able to perform. They're going to look at that for the next supplier we send to them to put on the list. So those are key points.
Absolutely.
I want to remind everybody in the audience that you can ask questions just by going to slido.com and typing in AD19 or AD19 for AeroDef 2019. So we're going to get to those in just a few minutes, but I'm going to keep on asking a few more questions. I want to know, we talked about what they had to do in terms of getting in the process by using ExoStar and by going to your websites. Who's responsible for the follow-up once they've actually submitted all their information to your organization in terms of seeing what's out there, where are we in the process? Who's responsible for that follow-up?
Well, now we have our small business liaison officers.
Uh-huh.
We have a system called Podio. Our suppliers will register their information, and actually that information goes across all Lockheed Martin sites. And based on your NAICS code again, because our buyers are searching by your NAICS code, and the small business officer will follow up if we find a need, and again, to register all of your company's information. So therefore, when the SBLO, the engineers, or the procurement professionals go into our Podio system, they will have all the information they need on your company. So we do provide a follow-up, and actually we generate a system response in our system that lets you know your information was received, it is flowed to the correct business area, the Lockheed business units you see here. If it's a good fit for our rotary mission system or aeronautics, it's flowed to the SBLO, and there is a response that will be given.
Okay, so Northrop Grumman has a automatic response, but what we tell the suppliers are, once you have registered, because we want to see your presentation, we will not let your presentation be put into the system by you because of cybersecurity. You will have to go through one of the small business liaison officers. We try to set up an advocacy team meeting with your company if we have a need at that time. But it is a two-way street. Both parties need to be willing to talk to each other. So I tell people, usually people have to call me and catch me early in the morning because I'm busy all day. But I will return your phone calls and I will return your emails, but I have thousands of those. So I tell people, be persistent with me, call, I will return your call. So we really want to get you in touch with the right folks. So.
All right.
For me, I like what Vicki said, but I want to add to that. If there was a next action on our SBLO's part, it's our SBLO's duty to fulfill that action. But in the meantime, if you haven't heard back from us, periodically ping us and tell us, remind us of where we met you at. Remind us of the items that you do and the programs you want to be on, and then we'll get back to you in not a considerable amount of time, but a reasonable amount of time. But sometimes, like they said, we're inundated every day with suppliers, and some of the things that we do outside of even meeting with suppliers are other duties that deal with DoD. So what you can do is make sure that, again, ping us, let us know who you are, remind us, and then we'll get back with you.
And I know all of you travel a lot because you're meeting with suppliers all over the country. So it's not like you're just, even though your offices might be here, you're not based just here in the LA or Southern California area. I called Varric and he's actually on the road driving somewhere in Kansas to meet one of the suppliers at their facilities. So it is up to you to make sure that you follow up consistently. I would like to think that there's not too much follow-up they can do that would totally bug you, but they need to make sure they're persistent with following up with you.
Correct.
One of the things that you mentioned, Vicki, was the slide deck, I believe. That was one of my questions. Should a supplier have a slide deck listing their capabilities at the ready to provide to OEMs? And what is it that you look for in that slide deck? And typically, how many slides is it? What should be included in there?
Okay, sure. Usually we ask for the suppliers to have a reduced slide deck from 7 to 10 pages. We want to know who, what, when, where, how, why. What is your niche market? What are your capabilities? What are your certifications? Some of the programs or customers you've worked with in the past.
Yes.
Usually we're all looking for the same thing. So this is what I tell suppliers. Have the slide deck ready. Change the name from Northrop to Boeing to Lockheed. It's the same deck unless you have some other capabilities that is specific. If you have clearances and you want to include that in there, put that in there as well. You want your presentation to speak for itself. If I send that to an engineer or they go into the website and look at your presentation, you want it to speak for your company as to what it is that you do and how well you do what you do. Any awards and recognitions that you've received, put it in there. It's almost like a bragging right, and then also tell me at the back page, oh, by the way, I happen to be a small disadvantaged hub zone service disabled veteran, woman-owned business, and I'm in these geographical locations, or I can work anywhere virtually. So those things are important for us to know as SBLOs because we're looking to take that when we're working proposals, because we all work proposals and not just one at a time, many. And so we want to be able to go to our website, go to our SharePoint where we have all of your information logged, type in that NAICS code, pull everybody up that hits that NAICS code from across the country. And we print that out, give that to our technical leads, and they click on the website and go and check your company out, see what your capabilities are. So I think it's important for you to really be very diligent. I know a lot of people have your support folks fill out that information, but make sure that they understand the importance of what your capability and your company brings to the table, because you may not get that shot again. We want it all to be in that website. We want it to be on your presentation.
So I can clarify, so when you say a slide deck, you're talking about a PowerPoint presentation that's 5 to 7 slides at the max that list the capabilities on the separate different slides, and that last slide needs to have that additional information about their certifications or if they're small and geographic location.
And it needs to also make sure there's a contact person on there. And so if there's a phone number and nobody answers a phone when the engineers call, I don't care if you have it routed to your cell phone, have somebody pick up the phone, because that's another thing we get into where they say, I've called that company about 10 times, Vicki, and nobody has answered the phone. So we really want to make sure, even if it's somebody that it's electronic tech to you that says, Vicki Harper Hall just called you from Northrop Grumman or Emma or Varg, and they're looking for you for these type of capabilities. You want to be able to answer that within a certain period of time.
It's interesting, as we've been working at USC with an AMSL Cal with suppliers, a lot of the smaller suppliers don't have the capacity in-house, that don't know or have staff to work with PowerPoint. And that's something that we've been trying to assist them with and making sure they understand. PowerPoint, Microsoft suite of one of their different programs, but it's something vital. If they're asking for a slide deck, that's what they're looking for, is a PowerPoint slide deck. So if you don't have that information, find an intern at one of these universities who can assist you with having that capacity in-house.
Right.
If that slide deck is not available, then your website. Please update your website.
Yes.
Please include all the information on your website and make sure it's a working website. I just recommended a small business to my sustainment engineer this morning, and the website was not working. And engineers really don't have time. They love working with the SBLOs. They love making sure small business commitment initiatives and goals are met, but they really don't have time to keep going back and forth with Emma. When you send me this supplier, the website's not working, the phone number's not working, the email is not working. They would just stop right then and go to the next supplier. So make sure your website, and your slide deck. This is a representation of your company. This is your resume.
Right.
Does Lockheed want to bring you on? Does Northrop Bowen want to bring you on to be a partner based upon your resume that's out there?
And we all talk, so.
That's true.
Right.
That's true.
All right.
And
Good news travels fast, but bad news travels even faster. So just be a.
So what we do with that slideshow is two things. We either send it out to all the buyers that buy your commodity code, or we have a event called a Supplier Showcase where we invite all the buyers of that commodity code to dial into a WebEx, and the supplier somewhat gives them an interview or a presentation on what they do, and everybody dials into that. So we urge that the presentation be crisp, concise, and to the point, because PAs are taking time out of their busy schedules to come hear about about those suppliers. So again, two things. We send it out, and even after the showcase, we send the presentation out to the buyers as well so they can have it. So that's your that slideshow is really your ticket into the door.
One of the other things that we've worked with the suppliers is that we've found is they may be a smaller supplier, maybe they put up a website a long time ago, but they have not updated it. And it doesn't have their current certifications, or that they have met cybersecurity requirements, or if they're certified as in a hub zone or an SBA or a small business company. How important is that for a supplier to make sure that their first that they have one,
Right.
like Varric said, because that we have found as well that they don't have one. But even if it's just a static page, just that one page that lists all that information, capabilities, certs, how important is that or vital to you as you're going through your process of weeding out or reviewing which ones you're going to work with?
It's important, but you hit on it. So college students are free. They all have to have interns, and they all need a grade at the end of the semester. So there's people that's in IT that will build your website for you. They're in college, take a semester, build your website, and do your PowerPoint presentation. So the resources are there available for you that won't cost you anything. So really take advantage of those things because it's important to you. And it's important to those college students too. I think there's a room of them upstairs. So just so, you know, wherever you are in the country, the Center for Economic Developments are available, the PTACs are available to help you with those types of things, and the SBA. So I think there's resources available to help you with those types of.
Well, and even these days, you could just go to GoDaddy and make your own website. I mean, they make it pretty easy, drag and drop, and make your own website. So there's really no excuse at this day and age to not have an up-to-date website listing your information. Before we get to the questions, and we can go ahead and put the slide of questions on the screen, Scott, thanks. I wanted to ask one last question, though, about cybersecurity and the NIST requirements. Since all of you do DoD, I know you have a commercial as well with Lockheed and Boeing, but how are you working with and dealing with suppliers now with the cybersecurity requirements that are now in place? Do you have, like Vicki had suggested, some training programs? How are you going about your vetting process with this additional requirement now?
So mine is a very simple answer. Basically, if you're not meeting those requirements, that's no deal for us. However, we do refer them to people like you guys to get that training, to see the gap analysis of where they need to be. But as of right now, if you're not meeting cybersecurity requirements, we can't work with you right now.
I think that's across the board. Yes, if you're not protecting your own company, how are you going to protect Lockheed Martin, Northrop, or Boeing? So cybersecurity is so important. The attacker is coming to the small businesses so they can get to the large companies. So we have to protect ourselves. And we want our small businesses to protect themselves as well. Northrop has a wonderful cybersecurity training going on throughout the year. Please take advantage of it. We've already encouraged our small business supply group to go to Northrop's training and be a part of it because it affects all of us.
Right.
It affects all of us.
Yeah, and it's actually a program that the Air Force, the Department of Defense Air Force actually put together this program. So it is not just for Northrop Grumman suppliers, it is for every small business that's out there that needs that training. And it's free to you. It's a one day, 8-hour session, and you can take it as many times as you need to take it. We have to do 40 sessions before September. We've finished about 15. I think we have flyers for May over there, but the whole list of states and where they're going to be located is on that website. So when you click on that website, you can register for as many as you want, however many people in your company you want to come up to speed on cybersecurity, it's available to you.
We have flyers at our booth at A109 as well, and I know we've got one in Norfolk tomorrow, and I'm going to be in Houston next week for the next cybersecurity. And again, it's via webinar as well. So if you can't physically go to one of the locations or the one closest to you has already passed, you can always join via webinar. And they're going to be, as Vicki has stated, offered all throughout the remainder of this year through September. So take advantage of that if you still are looking to make your cybersecurity requirements. One of the last questions I want to ask before we get to our questions here, and I love that you guys are putting on, you're even voting on which ones you like the best. I like that. If you notice, the people who get the more votes, your question gets moved to the top. So I'll make sure I ask those first. Last question I did want to ask is, do you have any particular or specific programs that support small business working with you? Meaning, do you have a mentor-protege program? Do you have any other inside programs that you have to offer to suppliers to help their development as they're working with your company? I'll start with you, Emma.
Yes, we do. Lockheed definitely takes advantage of the Department of Defense Mentor-Protege program, the NASA Mentor-Protege program, and all Mentor-Protege programs. We are a part of that, but also internally, we have a 1-year small business development program where we do reach out to our smaller companies that may be doing business or have a cutting-edge technology that Lockheed needs to start doing business with, but you just hadn't quite received more traction at Lockheed. We will bring you in, do a needs assessment, and see where areas that we can develop you and help you to become a healthy supplier to Lockheed Martin. But definitely we take advantage of the DoD Mentor-Protege program. I encourage you to research that, see what's required of the DoD Mentor-Protege program, because Lockheed has a mini Mentor-Protege program. It's our small business development program. So we're always looking for our suppliers to have them ready for full rate production on the F-35 aircraft.
Okay, so for us, again, DoD, NASA Mentor-Protege program, and also we're starting to go out and do lean assessments on suppliers that we're interested in. And this is going out and looking to see how lean you are, your manufacturing capabilities, your quality capabilities. And these are 2 suppliers that may have potential, that may somewhat fill a niche that we need. We're just starting out, so it's in the embryo stages now, but we are starting that outside of the DoD NASA Mentor-Protege program as well.
Vicki, what does...
Okay, first I'll start with the one that we have with USC, Center for Economic Development. About, I think it's almost 3 years ago now, we were approached and we actually looked at our small businesses in the manufacturing arena to actually see who needed development. So USC partnered up with us to actually identify those suppliers and go out and do needs assessment with them, and they're building them because some of the age of the owners of those companies are aging or ready to retire. So what we did is they did a needs assessment to see if the employees wanted to either buy the company or if there was someone internally within the company that could really take over that company, because we as prime contractors still need the capabilities of those suppliers. They've been doing business with us for 20 years, some of them, or more. So they are continuing to do that with us. We're also working with our local grant. We're working with some companies locally with grants. So we have grant money available for small businesses to train their employees in the Southern California area, also in our Florida area. So there's grant money. We also are involved with the Mentor-Protege program, SBIR, STTR. We do informal mentor-protege agreements. And we also make sure that when we're going to events and things, sometimes the small businesses don't have the funding to go to those events, but we want them to meet everybody. So we will invite them to dinners and events so that they don't have to pay that charge to come to those events. So we are all doing those types of things with our suppliers all the time. So it's all a matter of building those relationships and having that communications with any of us. So I would say tap into us as much as you can. Most of us have been in our positions a long time, and it's not because of the money, it's because we're passionate about this program. And it takes passion to run a small business program at any prime contract.
And thank you for that plug for what we do at USC. And the succession planning, just as a side note, succession planning is really something that's become vitally important for a lot of the small companies who have owners that are aging out, they want to retire, but their kids don't want to take over. So we are looking at working with them to do an assessment to see if there can be an employee takeover, and the employees can become the owner. So we've done a lot of those programs, and we have those capabilities in-house. Would love to offer that to anybody who is interested. But I want to start getting now to the questions from the audience. And the one that has the most up at the top right now is for all the panelists. Please rate these considerations for initial supplier selection: price, quality, on-time delivery, ease of conduction of business. What is the top ones, the 1, 2, 3, and 4, I guess, that they're looking for? Price, quality, OTD, ease of conducting business. What's most important to you all as you are looking to make a decision in selecting new suppliers?
All of them are just as important as each
Yes.
one of them.
Equally important?
Quality first.
Quality first?
Yes.
Quality
Yeah.
and price.
Quality first?
Delivery.
And
Our
delivery.
suppliers
Yep.
are rated on the quality and delivery. Pricing, because it's competitive, and there is a price that Lockheed is looking for, so all our solicitations are on a competitive basis, but don't want to lowball and have a bad quality, bad delivery.
Right.
Lockheed will assess that, everything. So quality and delivery would be an experience as well. We need to know your experience. And pricing is negotiable, but we definitely need no negotiation on quality and delivery.
Right.
And I think ease of conducting business is up there too, because as buyers, they don't want to keep chasing and trying to call you and you're not answering the phone.
Right.
Especially if something is hot and they need the part.
That's
So ease of conducting business is up there as well.
Next question. Do you work with companies that have developed relevant new technology but aren't quite ready to be a full supplier? So somebody's got a great new technology, an idea they want to bring to you. They're not quite at that size level to be a supplier. How do you work with them? How would you engage them?
For Boeing, we would work with that supplier through our BR&T, Boeing Research and Technology division, where we would get with let the engineers and the buyers over on BR&T work with that supplier to bring them up to speed on a technology that they're trying to accomplish. And if we really are interested in that technology, that's when we'll really start bringing engineers out to the company and working with them and seeing if we can take them up to that next level. But BR&T, our BR&T division would help out with that.
Vicki and Emma, are there any opportunities, or is that about the same process?
Probably about the same. Of course, we work with our Small Business Innovator Research Program through the DoD, and any cutting edge emerging technology, we're looking for our small businesses in those areas. We're working with 2 companies now with robotic spraying or cryogenic machining. So we need that type of technology on the platform that we work with. And we will bring our engineers and our development team out to look at your company.
Right.
But you have to have done your homework to let Lockheed know where you fit within that space.
Right.
Yeah, and for us, I will say we have engaged, our engineers have found some really top-notch small businesses with some capabilities that are way beyond, and they're actually, we brought them in through a mentor-protege program. So we're doing some things right now, and those suppliers actually approach Northrop Grumman with their capabilities. So I think if you're on that technology side, we need to match you up with our scientists and our technologists within our companies, because those are the people that's out there doing the things that are way beyond some of our thought process here. So think about anything that you might have that is a step above just your normal manufacturing capabilities, a technology that you know they're going to need, a technology that you know the government is looking for. And like they said, if you look out on the DoD website or the Air Force, any of the DoD websites, they will kind of tell you where they're trying to go. NASA or DoD will tell you where they're trying to go in the future, and it's up to you to really match up with us so we can get you with those technologists internally.
Can non-U.S. manufacturers be registered as your supplier? And if yes, is the process different than U.S. manufacturers?
Ask that question one more time.
So can non-U.S. manufacturers, if somebody is not a U.S.
Foreign-owned.
company, foreign-owned
Right.
company, can they become a supplier? And is the process the same to become a supplier as it is for the U.S. manufacturers?
For Boeing, yes, it is the same process. You just won't be dealing with supplier diversity. You'll be dealing with our international supplier management folks instead of us.
Okay. So they would go to somebody within their country of origin, or would you just have that particular international supplier office based here on their website, and that's where they would go to first, as opposed to SBLO?
They'll go to the person. They'll go to an international supplier management person.
Okay.
Who can contact them, but it'll be the same process as going as a small business with us.
Okay. Is that the same for Lockheed and for?
Well, because Lockheed, the F-35 program, we have 9 countries that we're doing business with that's purchasing the aircraft. The same registration for our U.S. and for our foreign suppliers is the same, through the same portal. And then we will vet those suppliers and, of course, go to the right department, our international business department.
Okay.
And those foreign companies are looking for small businesses in their country as well.
Yes.
So we are training them on how to find small businesses based upon their requirements.
Okay.
So yes, they register within our system. We also are in 26 countries.
Okay.
This is my team partner that I team with on a lot of projects for F-35. So the process is the same,
Okay.
but if they're calling from another country, we as SBLOs will direct them to the international business
Right.
because there's an ITAR requirement that is there that we have to adhere to.
Okay.
So.
Our next question is, where does a large company with specialized capabilities go for a contract? Is that through the small business office, through the SBLOs, or is there a different department that deals with the larger companies?
Well, because we are supplier diversity and small business, so as a supplier diversity representative, the large companies would still come through our office as the first time, and we will introduce you to the purchasing team that procure the commodity that you provide. Our focus as small business liaison officer is to make sure we meet government small business needs. That's our primary focus. However, we do help our large companies as well navigate through our supply chain so they can know how to do business with Lockheed.
So the first point of contact is still with your office, the Supplier
It would
Diversity
be on
Office.
the Lockheed website, becoming a supplier on our Lockheed website, www.lockheedmartin.com, how to become a supplier, and you will fill out that information, no matter if you're large or small, and that information will be processed through to the right individual, most of our office.
Is that the same for?
Same process as Emma's, but one of the things that we also do is look at what type of commodity the large business is and channel that supplier to those buyers who buy that commodity. And that'll be our step to do that. So we'll make sure they're contacted with those buyers who buy that commodity.
Vicki?
And most large businesses that come to me, I think Northrop Grumman knows who you are already. So I will try to help you get to the engineer or the buyer of choice. But our focus is small business, but we won't throw you out the door, large businesses, because we know our guys already know who you are. The large businesses have pretty tight connections with all of our engineers and folks internally.
This is a good question, talking about what we have asked them to do, which is list all their capabilities. Non-disclosure agreements control what can be disclosed about past programs or customers, and thus what we can put in a capability briefing. Any suggestions on how to develop these?
Okay, repeat that one.
So
last
you've got
time.
NDAs are
Right.
part of a lot of their customers and their past programs or work they've done. So they've got an NDA, so they can't necessarily disclose the information. So how can they work with or list information on their capability statement if they've also got this NDA that they're not supposed to talk about the program or the project that they worked on?
And please do not.
Yes.
So, I was just going to say, so if you have worked on a special program, what you want to do is make sure that you have a bilateral or unilateral agreement to have some discussions, but you have to have touch bases with your customer before you start having those conversations, because there are some things that are just going to be off limits to you and you will not be able to discuss. So I would say, I think if your company is on some of those programs, and there's only going to be certain things that you can talk about, and that's in a general perspective to talk about your capabilities, but anything program specific, you will have to get approval from your customer before you can do that.
I'm going to assume that is across the board with Lockheed as well as with Boeing?
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
I know that when you give us the capability briefing, one of the things that we're looking for is, especially if you haven't worked with Boeing, how are you performing with Lockheed and Northrop Grumman? And we're just asking for what's your quality and delivery rating. We're not asking for anything else. Once we understand that and we want to engage with you guys, then we go into looking at non-disclosure agreements, PIAs, and things of that nature. But right now, from a presentation standpoint, how are you performing with Lockheed Martin, or how are you performing with Northrop Grumman if you're not performing with Boeing yet?
For all three of you, aside from your supplier registration websites, do you have an established in-house supplier diversity program for set-aside contracts? So do you have set-aside contracts, and do you look for diversity
As a
suppliers?
prime, we don't do set-aside. That's the government, they can do that. But as a prime, we don't have set-asides. Very competitive. Now, we can do focus competition with Service Disabled Veteran or Hub Zone.
That's what you call it?
Yes. But
Focus.
yes, focus competitions.
Focus.
Yes, in order to meet needs. But set aside, that's definitely with the U.S. government, those agencies.
Right.
I like that. I'm gonna take that back.
That's good, Emma.
Okay, as a business that specializes in components that belong to ITAR controlled systems, how do we do our homework looking for a good way to research programs? So they're trying to understand how can they best do their homework in terms of what it is that they could possibly fit, or where their company's components or services can fit when their pieces belong to ITAR controlled systems. Got these difficult questions for you.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
That particular question, is that an international company that's asking that question?
You know what? I don't know. If the person is here who asked that question, you want to speak up if you're in the audience still?
Yep. What program are you working?
International?
International?
U.S. based, you said? U.S.
Oh, U.S. ITAR parts going outside the U.S.? You should be fine to talk to us.
I couldn't hear him.
You should be fine to talk to any of us about your products, your components.
Okay.
Probably on one of our systems.
Exactly. If you're not, it's probably embedded in one of ours.
Yes, probably one of our
So,
systems.
yeah. So we can talk afterwards.
One of the last questions we have so far, and we're about to wrap it up. How accessible are engineers or designers to work beside if we receive an opportunity for print review or while parts are in process? So how accessible are your engineers and designers to work beside them and be able to get that feedback and conversation with them while the parts are in process that they're working on?
So in other words, are you asking, would engineers come out to the supplier, work with them, and as the parts are being constructed or manufactured? Who asked?
Yes.
Karen?
Working beside us to get us up and started. We want to make sure that we fully understand print requirements. I know I've heard, you know,
From a
some
Boeing
feedback,
perspective,
so.
from a Boeing perspective, that's when we would bring out our quality folks to help you guys out, along with the engineer, to make sure that you're meeting all the specs, meeting all the requirements of that part. Because if we're working with you and we already are engaged with you, we want a win-win situation as well. So it'll be quality and engineering coming out.
So I have a question for clarification, Karen. So have you already won the proposal?
I'm saying in the case that we have won an opportunity with you,
You've won okay.
right? And
That's the way I took
we're
it.
going through an initial print review. Of course, we're going to give you all the quality certifications
Sure.
through the process, all the paperwork. But then say we're running the process and our machinist has a really good, valid design question or an engineering process question that we want to run past your group.
Right.
You know, can we do that? Are they accessible while our spindle is being still?
I'm going to say yes, but you're going to have to go through your subcontract administrator.
That's right.
And I think those subcontract administrators will get you in touch, because if you have a design change or something that will improve that product, I think they want to hear about it.
Absolutely.
Right.
Sooner than later.
Right.
So if you see that design on that drawing may be outdated and there's a better way of doing that, we want to hear about that. Not after, and you kind of ingest that up front. Say, did you think about doing it this way? I think they want to hear that.
And
Good
Vicky's
point.
correct. Lockheed has the same thing. When the drawings go out with the competition, then you have that information, and if there's a way of making it better, we definitely want to talk to the Lockheed engineers, and they have, in fact, gone to Supplier's facility in the middle of a competition, or the bid has not been received yet, and they do make some engineer changes. So yes, we definitely do that.
And I like what both Vicky and Emma said, but make sure first step is to contact your PA, because that's the first contact. Don't contact your engineer yet or quality. Contact your PA first, because that's your first step in the process.
Yeah, that's normally an RFP or an RFQ.
I want to thank our panel so much for being here and explaining and sharing with you how to become a supplier in the process with their organizations. I know that Vark is going to be here after this conversation right over there at the Boeing table answering more questions. Emma from Lockheed Martin and Vicki have their procurement staff are going to be over in the one-on-one strategic matchmaking area taking appointments with suppliers while they're here on site. But they all have information they can give you so that you can follow up with them directly, because they are the leads for all of the small business and supplier offices for their companies. So at this time, I'd like to say thank you to our panel, to give them a warm thank you so much. I appreciate you being here again. And to our wonderful host, Dave, and SME, we're always happy to be part of AeroDef. Thank you so much for inviting us.
Thank you, Libby, and thank all of you for joining us today.